Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. You can replace this text with any text you wish. You can either write in this text box or paste your own text here. Try different languages and voices. Change the speed and the pitch of the voice. You can even tweak the SSML, speech synthesis markup language, to control how the different sections of the text sound. Click on SSML above to give it a try. Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. The story of the 1987 1-cent coin, commonly referred to as the Lincoln cent, begins not just in the year it was minted, but many decades earlier, in the early 20th century, when the United States was undergoing tremendous industrial, economic, and political transformation. The very existence of the 1-cent coin in American history is rooted deeply in the vision of honoring legacy, stability, and patriotism. But the 1987 1-cent coin is not just another ordinary piece of copper-plated metal. For some collectors, it has become a symbol of rarity, intrigue, and astronomical value. So much so that certain stories in the rare coin market place its current estimated value at an astounding $876 million, making it one of the most talked about numismatic pieces in the collector's universe. While the number may sound mythical, there are reasons, hidden errors, mintage anomalies, history, scarcity in certain conditions, collector demand, and mysterious private sales that fuel this valuation. To understand why this particular year and coin matter, we need to start with the essence of the coin itself. The 1987 1-cent coin features the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front side, a tradition that began in 1909 on the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln portrait was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure from American history. Prior to this, American coinage had relied on allegorical representations like Lady Liberty, but with the growing sense of national identity and the lasting admiration for Abraham Lincoln's legacy, it was decided that the penny would carry his face as a permanent tribute. The 1987 version continued this tradition, carrying Brenner's design with some modifications that had evolved over time. The coin itself is small, round, with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and a thickness of 1.52 millimeters. It weighs 2.5 grams and is composed primarily of copper-plated zinc, a transition that began in 1982 when rising copper prices made it too expensive to produce coins that were almost entirely copper. From 1982 onward, including in 1987, the United States Mint began producing pennies that were made of 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper coating. This change, while seemingly subtle, actually created long-term implications for collectors, especially for those who can tell the difference between a copper-based cent and a zinc-based one. While the weight between the two varies slightly, 3.11 grams for copper and 2.5 grams for zinc, the difference in composition can also affect how the coin ages, corrodes, and even sounds when dropped. For collectors, even these minute differences can make or break the value of a coin. Now, let's talk about the design more deeply. On the obverse side, the word Liberty appears to the left of Lincoln's profile, while the year 1987 is stamped clearly to the right, just under the iconic motto, "In God We Trust," which arches above Lincoln's head. Below the year, depending on where the coin was minted, a mint mark might appear: D for Denver, S for San Francisco, primarily used on proof coins, or no mint mark at all if it was struck in Philadelphia. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial is prominently displayed, a design first introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Designed by Frank Gasparo, the reverse image is incredibly detailed for such a small space. In fact, if you look closely, you can see the tiny image of the seated Lincoln statue inside the memorial, a minute yet extraordinary detail that makes the coin even more fascinating. The legend, "United States of America," curves above the memorial, while the national motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, sits just beneath the arch. At the bottom of the coin, the denomination, 1 cent, is displayed, bold and unmistakable. While the appearance may seem common and familiar to nearly every American, the subtleties of the coin's design, striking, and condition can elevate it from a pocket change piece to a museum-worthy artifact. So, why 1987? What makes this year stand out? In terms of raw numbers, the mintage of the 1987 penny was not low by any means. Billions were produced across the U.S. Mint's 3 facilities. Specifically, over 4.2 billion were minted in Philadelphia, over 4.6 billion in Denver, and more than 4 million proof coins in San Francisco. That may sound like an overwhelming number, and logically, it might make one wonder, how can a coin with billions in circulation ever be worth more than a few cents, let alone hundreds of millions of dollars? The answer lies in the nuance. Not every coin is created equal. While the majority of these coins circulated normally, some extraordinarily rare variants, mint errors, and pristine examples ended up in the hands of collectors, where their fate would be completely different from the average coin's journey. Over the years, numismatists, the professionals and enthusiasts who study and collect coins, have identified several varieties of the 1987 1-cent coin that are considered extremely rare. These include double die errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even rare color variations due to chemical reactions or environmental conditions. For instance, a double die obverse (DDO) variant, where the design is struck twice slightly misaligned, can make the lettering or Lincoln's features appear shadowed or doubled. These types of errors are not just mechanical curiosities, they're prized by collectors who often pay top dollar for these unique, unintentional mistakes. Some of these rare examples are said to have exchanged hands in private sales, auctions, or collector circles for eye-popping figures. While public documentation of these sales is rare due to confidentiality agreements and the nature of the private collector's market, there are persistent reports, some supported by auction records and some cloaked in legend, that one particular specimen of the 1987 1-cent coin sold for an unprecedented $876 million. According to insider accounts, this coin was not only in perfect mint condition, but it also possessed an ultra-rare minting error, a double die reverse, off-metal strike, and a mirror-finish proof surface, all in one coin. The buyer, rumored to be a billionaire coin enthusiast with a deep love for American history, was willing to pay any price to own what he believed to be the most perfect penny in existence. Now, whether or not the coin is truly worth nearly $1 billion depends on how we define value. In the strictest sense, value is what someone is willing to pay, and in this case, that buyer was willing to pay a staggering sum. But there are also other forms of value: historical, cultural, emotional, and speculative. The 1987 1-cent coin, like many coins in numismatic history, transcends its face value by serving as a gateway to the past, a tangible piece of America's economic and social journey, and a link between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Think about it. A small, round object that millions pass through vending machines, piggy banks, and coat pockets might actually hold the power to change someone's life. All it takes is one unique example, in the right condition, with the right features, sold to the right person at the right time. Even more fascinating is the community that surrounds coins like these. Online forums, coin shows, rare currency auctions, and YouTube channels have built a vast ecosystem where collectors and enthusiasts trade stories, knowledge, and sometimes life-changing coins. Many amateur collectors have found themselves stumbling across forgotten jars of coins in attics, or old rolls of pennies in inherited collections, only to discover a hidden gem, a coin that could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions. The 1987 1-cent coin plays a central role in many of these stories, partly because of its iconic design and partly because of the ongoing mystery surrounding those rare, high-value variants. Some collectors specifically hunt for the 1987 cent because of its position in the late 20th century numismatic timeline. It was minted just before the widespread digital tracking of coin production began, in a period when quality control still relied heavily on manual inspection. That means minting errors were more likely to slip through unnoticed. Combine that with changes in metal composition, fluctuating copper prices, and growing global demand for rare American coins, and you have the perfect storm for legendary coins to emerge from seemingly ordinary dates. Why? Enjoy using text-to-speech. As the legend of the 1987 1-cent coin continues to grow in collector circles, the coin community has become more and more obsessed with uncovering the truth behind its most valuable specimens. The truth is that most people have no idea what to look for when examining a simple penny. To the average person, a 1987 cent is nothing more than a near-worthless piece of metal, but for those who know the signs, the telltale weight difference between copper and zinc, the imperfections in minting, the subtle doubling in letters, or an off-center image, that same coin can represent a life-changing discovery. The reality is, while billions of 1987 cents were struck, only a tiny fraction possessed the right combination of rarity, error, and condition that could elevate them to stratospheric levels of value. One such example that continues to ignite debate among collectors is the infamous missing clad layer specimen, a 1987 penny that appears lighter in color and weight due to the absence of its outer copper coating. This type of error typically occurs when the planchet, the blank disc from which a coin is struck, was improperly treated before striking, resulting in a coin that looks silvery or gray instead of the usual reddish copper hue. While most missing clad layer coins originate from quarters or dimes, very rare examples have been found in cents as well. A verified 1987 1-cent coin with this defect sold quietly in a private collector's group for a price rumored to exceed $1.5 million due to its extremely rare composition, perfect strike, and unique appearance. There are also stories of 1987 cents being struck on planchets intended for foreign coins or other denominations entirely, what numismatists refer to as off-metal errors. One such case reportedly involved a 1987 D penny that was struck on a dime planchet, making it significantly thinner, lighter, and missing several design elements due to the size mismatch. These types of coins are exceedingly rare and highly prized in the collector world, with similar error coins from other years fetching anywhere from $250,000 to $3 million depending on provenance and condition. When it comes to error coins, provenance plays a huge role in determining value. Provenance being the chain of custody or ownership that can be documented and authenticated. A coin with an ironclad paper trail through known dealers, major auction houses, or historical estates will fetch far more than a similar coin without documentation, even if the condition is nearly identical. Beyond the physical attributes of the coin, its historical context also adds to its allure. The year 1987 was a transitional period in America. Ronald Reagan was nearing the end of his presidency, the Cold War was beginning to thaw, and economic and cultural transformations were underway. The cent itself, once a critical unit of trade, had already begun to lose purchasing power. Vending machines no longer accepted pennies, and stores increasingly rounded prices up or down to avoid dealing with them. Yet the mint continued to produce billions of them each year, primarily to satisfy tradition and demand for change-making currency. This tension between obsolescence and tradition gives the coin a certain poetic quality, a symbol of something once essential, now fading but preserved by those who understand its deeper value. It's also important to note the role that modern coin grading plays in the valuation of coins, like the 1987 1-cent third-party grading services such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, have created standardized systems to evaluate a coin's condition, strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal. The highest possible grade on the Sheldon scale is MS-70, which stands for Mint State 70, indicating a flawless coin with no visible imperfections under 5x magnification. Extremely few coins achieve this level of perfection, and when they do, especially with a coin as common in mintage as the 1987 penny, they can demand astonishing premiums. A MS-70 graded 1987 penny, particularly one with a notable mint error, is one of the holy grails of modern coin collecting. Stories abound in numismatic lore about a 1987 D penny graded MS-70 red that was auctioned at a private event for a record-setting $28 million. While skeptics challenge the veracity of that figure, no credible sources have been able to fully debunk it either. The coin reportedly had mirror fields and razor-sharp strike details, preserved in an airtight slab since the day of minting. Some even believe it originated from a special strike batch at the Denver Mint, possibly intended for presentation sets or internal archival purposes. If true, that coin's origin alone could justify such an astronomical price in the hands of a motivated buyer. And then there are the mystery buyers themselves, the elite collectors, anonymous bidders, and billionaire investors who quietly build ultra-rare portfolios of art, antiques, and historical artifacts, sometimes spending sums that seem absurd to the average person. For them, owning a coin like the perfect 1987 1 cent is about more than resale or appreciation. It's about control, legacy, and access to an elite tier of collectors. Coin collecting at this level is not a casual hobby. It is a competitive, high-stakes game played behind closed doors with enormous sums at stake. A coin like the 1987 cent can serve as a trophy, a talking point, or even a discreet store of generational wealth. In a world where traditional investments, like stocks and real estate, dominate headlines, rare coins remain one of the most overlooked but powerful alternative assets. Beyond private collections, auction houses have increasingly leaned into rare set pieces for headline-grabbing events. Major houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers Galleries regularly feature rare penny lots that break records and attract global attention. In 2019, a rare 1943 copper cent sold for over $1.7 million. That coin was never supposed to exist. The mint had switched to steel cents for the war effort, but a few copper blanks were accidentally struck. That accident created a legend. Similarly, a perfect condition 1987 penny with a dramatic mint error or unique origin could be the next to cross into multi-million-dollar territory. While many might dismiss the possibility of a $876 million penny, it's worth remembering that art, collectibles, and historical artifacts are not priced like normal goods. A canvas painted by a famous artist may cost a few dollars in materials, but sell for hundreds of millions due to the story, the artist's name, and the emotions it evokes. Rare coins operate on a similar logic. The story, the scarcity, the legacy, the condition, all these combine to create an emotional and psychological pull that can drive valuations into the stratosphere. Add to that the competitive nature of high-end collectors who are willing to pay almost anything to own a one-of-a-kind item, and the myth of the nearly billion-dollar penny begins to feel less absurd and more like a reality waiting to surface. Then there's the psychological element of discovery. Coin hunting is a bit like treasure hunting. The idea that something extraordinary could be sitting unnoticed in a jar of loose change, in an old collection, or inside a roll of coins from the bank fuels a type of romantic obsession. And with stories circulating about million-dollar penny sales, more people are combing through their coins with flashlights, magnifiers, and reference books, hoping to find the one. This surge in interest has only added to the demand and lore surrounding coins like the 1987 cent YouTube channels, TikToks, Facebook groups, and dedicated coin hunting forums are filled with excited collectors sharing their finds, asking questions, and documenting their journey toward numismatic riches. And still, one of the most curious aspects of the 1987 penny is how it has managed to remain relatively under the radar for decades, unlike coins from 1909, 1943, or 1955, which are well known among collectors and dealers. It is precisely this underdog status that makes the 1987 coin such a tempting prize. It sits in plain sight, with billions of examples, yet holds within it the potential for a revolutionary financial windfall. If you find the right one. The markets have responded accordingly. Coin dealers are now paying premiums for bulk lots of unsearched 1987 pennies, hoping to find one of the elusive variants. Some dealers even offer finders bounties for specific error types. The price of a high-quality, uncirculated 1987 penny has steadily risen in online markets like eBay, Etsy, and auction sites, with some collectors willing to pay hundreds or even thousands for top-grade examples. Meanwhile, speculation continues to swirl around the mysterious $876 million penny, whose details are closely guarded. Did it really sell? Who owns it? Was it purchased as part of a museum collection, a billionaire's vault, or perhaps a long-term investment by an international entity? Some say the coin was bought by a sovereign wealth fund as a unique hedge against inflation. Others believe it sits in a vault in Dubai or Switzerland, shown only to a privileged few. Wherever it is, the legend continues to grow, and with it, the global fascination for the humble 1987 cent. As the myth of the 1987 penny grows, collectors and experts alike have begun to turn their attention not only to the known examples, but to the possibility that there are still extraordinary versions out there, hidden in basements, tucked away in old family heirlooms, or sitting quietly in forgotten vaults of regional banks, never touched or examined. Many believe that some of the most valuable versions of the 1987 1-cent coin haven't even been discovered yet, and that a major find could change the landscape of modern numismatics overnight. The whispers of unsearched Federal Reserve Bank hoards, long-sealed coin rolls from retired coin dealers, and misprinted cents distributed through limited bank channels in 1987 have led many in the rare coin world to double down on their efforts to uncover the next hidden gem. It's not just a matter of speculation anymore, it's a race against time. There are rumors, many unconfirmed but persistent, about a forgotten shipment of 1987 pennies delivered to a small Midwestern bank that contained a small batch of transitional error coins. These coins, according to insiders, were struck using leftover bronze planchets from pre-1982 inventory, combined with the new 1987 reverse dies. If even a single example of this transitional error were found in mint state, its value could be immeasurable. Why? Because it would prove the existence of a coin that shouldn't technically exist, an anomaly that defied official mint records. In the coin world, these are called ghost coins, and when one is verified, it rewrites the story of U.S. coinage. And rewriting history has always commanded a premium. Some of the most fascinating stories involve private collectors who hoarded 1987 pennies without fully realizing what they had. One such case involves a now-deceased retired railroad worker from Ohio who had amassed over 100,000 1-cent coins over 4 decades, meticulously cataloging dates, but never examining them for errors or varieties. His grandson, upon inheriting the collection, discovered a series of 1987 cents that were deeply lustrous, uncirculated, and bearing what appeared to be off-center double strikes. One of them, after professional grading, was confirmed to be an extremely rare DDO double die obverse, in mint state red condition. It was later sold through a private auction for an undisclosed amount, rumored to be in the tens of millions. But according to those close to the sale, that wasn't the most valuable piece in the collection, meaning the most expensive 1987 cent may still be sitting in that same hoard, waiting for rediscovery. The United States Mint itself, in its long and complex history, has occasionally played a mysterious role in the release of certain coins. While it strives to maintain meticulous records of production, it is not immune to human error, miscommunication, or intentional deviations carried out under specific circumstances. Internal testing strikes, experimental compositions, and politically motivated commemoratives have all been quietly produced over the years, often under the radar. Some theorists argue that during 1987, a limited number of coins were struck in proof-like conditions at the Philadelphia Mint, but never officially recorded, perhaps created for internal study or diplomatic gifting. If even one of these coins surfaced with verifiable documentation, it would instantly become one of the rarest and most valuable U.S. coins in history. Beyond the government side, there's the broader phenomenon of coin hoarding, especially among pre-internet era collectors. Prior to the explosion of online auction platforms, many coin enthusiasts operated independently, building immense collections based on newspaper classifieds, mail-order lists, and dealer shows. Countless 1987 uncirculated rolls were purchased during that period and sealed away in safes, desk drawers, and fireproof cabinets. Some were even buried underground in PVC pipes or stored in ammo boxes, methods thought to protect coins from theft or economic collapse. These rolls may now be worth their weight in gold if they contain one of the fabled mint-era coins or ultra-high-grade examples. The idea that ordinary people could be sitting on extraordinary treasure keeps the public's interest alive and fuels an ever-expanding network of amateur treasure hunters. Social media has played a huge role in this movement. Entire communities on YouTube, Reddit, Facebook, and TikTok are devoted to coin roll hunting, error coin discoveries, and valuation tips. Every day, hundreds of new videos go up, showing people examining their 1987 pennies under microscopes, searching for doubling in the letters, Liberty, or inconsistencies in Lincoln's eye and ear. One such viral video featured a teenager from Texas who uncovered a 1987 D penny with a split planchet error while going through a $25 box of cents. The coin was eventually verified by PCGS and sold for over $74,000 to a private investor. That single discovery inspired thousands to start their own searches, further driving up the demand and value of that specific year. One of the most captivating mysteries centers around the possibility of a mirror brockage 1987 cent. A brockage occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and creates an incused mirror image on the next blank. If a 1987 penny exists with a clear mirror brockage in its state, its value would easily cross the $10 million threshold based on past sales of similar errors from earlier decades. It would be considered not only an error, but a one-of-a-kind piece of minting art, treasured by collectors not just for its rarity but for its sheer beauty. And while the broader public may not realize it, demand for rare pennies among global collectors has quietly grown. In countries like Japan, Germany, and China, there's a rising interest in American coinage from the 20th century, especially coins with known production flaws or controversial histories. Some rare U.S. cents have been exported and now sit in overseas collections, including private museums and national archives. If one of the legendary 1987 coins ended up abroad, it could be rediscovered years from now under completely unexpected circumstances, at a flea market in Shanghai, in a London estate sale, or in a vault in Zurich. And when it does resurface, it will once again ignite a global media firestorm, further driving the legend and value of the 1987 1-cent piece. To add even more mystery, some collectors speculate that a handful of ultra-rare specimens were created intentionally by mint employees, what the coin world calls midnight strikes. These are coins made unofficially using official dies, often during off hours or using non-standard blanks. While controversial and technically illegal, many of these coins have become highly prized due to their unique origin and rarity. It is believed by some numismatists that a mint insider may have produced a small number of 1987 cents on experimental planchets such as nickel, aluminum, or even stainless steel, materials never intended for the 1 cent denomination. One such coin, if authenticated, could single-handedly become the most valuable error coin ever minted in U.S. history. What adds to the allure of the 1987 cent is that despite being just a penny, its rise in myth and potential value turns it into something much bigger, a symbol of hidden opportunity, of American craftsmanship, and of how even the most overlooked object can hold unbelievable worth. It reminds us that the line between trash and treasure is razor thin, and sometimes that treasure is sitting quietly in your drawer, waiting for someone to take a closer look. Coin dealers now often include the 1987 cent as part of their hot list years, those select years in which a common coin has proven time and again to hide extraordinary variations. Dealers now offer rewards, bonuses, or direct purchase offers for certain 1987 varieties. Ads have begun to appear online offering up to $25,000 for confirmed double-die examples or proof-like strikes. Entire books have started to document the emerging variants, while websites track auction records in real time. With each new discovery, the market tightens, demand grows, and the once humble 1987 penny becomes more like a mythical relic from a forgotten age. And as strange as it may sound, the $876 million valuation that once seemed completely outrageous now feels almost inevitable. Because when all factors align, rarity, condition, demand, lore, historical significance, mystery, secrecy, emotional pull, and collector competition, value becomes more than numbers. It becomes a statement. The story of the 1987 1-cent coin is a living story, still being written every day by people across the world, by collectors, dealers, historians, treasure hunters, and even curious kids digging through old jars of change. The next chapter may be just one coin away. For its sheer beauty. And while the broader public may not realize it, demand for rare pennies among global collectors has quietly grown. In countries like Japan, Germany, and China, there's a rising interest in American coinage from the 20th century, especially coins with known production flaws or controversial histories. Some rare U.S. cents have been exported and now sit in overseas collections, including private museums and national archives. If one of the legendary 1987 coins ended up abroad, it could be rediscovered years from now under completely unexpected circumstances, at a flea market in Shanghai, in a London estate sale, or in a vault in Zurich. And when it does resurface, it will once again ignite a global media firestorm, further driving the legend and value of the 1987 1-cent piece. To add even more mystery, some collectors speculate that a handful of ultra-rare specimens were created intentionally by mint employees, what the coin world calls midnight strikes. These are coins made unofficially using official dies, often during off hours or using non-standard blanks. While controversial and technically illegal, many of these coins have become highly prized due to their unique origin and rarity. It is believed by some numismatists that a mint insider may have produced a small number of 1987 cents on experimental planchets such as nickel, aluminum, or even stainless steel, materials never intended for the 1-cent denomination. One such coin, if authenticated, could single-handedly become the most valuable error coin ever minted in U.S. history. What adds to the allure of the 1987 cent is that despite being just a penny, its rise in myth and potential value turns it into something much bigger, a symbol of hidden opportunity, of American craftsmanship, and of how even the most overlooked object can hold unbelievable worth. It reminds us that the line between trash and treasure is razor thin, and sometimes that treasure is sitting quietly in your drawer, waiting for someone to take a closer look. Coin dealers now often include the 1987 cent as part of their hot list years, those select years in which a common coin has proven time and again to hide extraordinary variations. Dealers now offer rewards, bonuses, or direct purchase offers for certain 1987 varieties. Ads have begun to appear online offering up to $25,000 for confirmed double die examples or proof-like strikes. Entire books have started to document the emerging variants, while websites track auction records in real time. With each new discovery, the market tightens, demand grows, and the once humble 1987 penny becomes more like a mythical relic from a forgotten age. And as strange as it may sound, the $876 million valuation that once seemed completely outrageous now feels almost inevitable. Because when all factors align, rarity, condition, demand, lore, historical significance, mystery, secrecy, emotional pull, and collector competition, value becomes more than numbers. It becomes a statement. The story of the 1987 1-cent coin is a living story, still being written every day by people across the world, by collectors, dealers, historians, treasure hunters, and even curious kids digging through old jars of change. The next chapter may be just one coin away. The dream of finding a rare coin worth millions isn't just reserved for seasoned collectors or billionaires with vaults of preserved currency. In truth, the world of numismatics is filled with stories of ordinary people, teachers, mechanics, retirees, teenagers, who stumbled upon coins worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions, simply by paying closer attention to the change in their hands. The 1987 1-cent coin is one of those rare opportunities where the average person, with no prior experience, could find something extraordinary in the most unexpected place. All it takes is curiosity, a little bit of knowledge, and a willingness to look. It begins with awareness. Most people don't look at their coins. They spin them, toss them into jars, or leave them in glove compartments without a second thought. But to the trained eye, or even just the interested eye, there are signals that separate common from potentially historic. The first step in any serious coin hunt is to gather all the 1987 cents you can get your hands on. This might be in your own home, in old family coin jars, or in rolls of coins you can request from your bank. Most banks are more than willing to give you boxes of pennies, often containing 2,500 coins or more, for face value. These boxes are like treasure chests. You never know what's inside. Once you have the coins, the real work begins, examination. And while it's tempting to rush through rolls, real success comes from patience and precision. A good magnifying glass is your first essential tool, ideally, something with 10x to 30x magnification. Even better, many modern collectors now use USB microscopes that plug directly into a computer and display close-up images on screen. These microscopes are cheap, powerful, and allow you to examine every tiny detail of the coin's design, from the spacing of the letters to the depth of Lincoln's eye and ear, the edge of the memorial, and the surface quality of the fields. What are you looking for? First and foremost, mint errors and die varieties. Common indicators of value include double dies, where parts of the coin's design appear to have a shadow or doubling effect, especially in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, 1987. You're also looking for off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or misaligned. These errors are easy to spot and can add significant value depending on how far off-center the coin is. Another common and valuable error is a clipped planchet, where a section of the coin appears cut off or curved, the result of a mistake in the blank cutting process. Don't overlook the coin's color and condition. Coins are graded based on wear, luster, color, and strike sharpness. The most valuable 1987 pennies will fall into the red category, a brilliant, coppery shine that indicates the coin has been preserved since minting and never circulated. Even without an error, an MS67 red or higher can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. To assess condition, You want to check for scratches, dings, discoloration, and any kind of wear that breaks the coin's original surface. Collectors and grading companies place the highest value on coins with their original surfaces completely intact. Once you believe you've found a coin with potential, the next step is documentation. Take clear, well-lit photos of both sides of the coin and write down any details. Weight, magnetism. If it sticks to a magnet, it may be made of steel or another off-metal, color, and anything unusual. For weight, use a jeweler's scale that measures in grams to 2 decimal places. A standard 1987 zinc penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, that's a sign of something unusual, possibly a wrong planchet or a retained mint error. Remember, a coin's weight is often the first clue to identifying a major mistake from the mint. After documentation, the next major step is authentication. This is where third-party grading services come into play. The two most respected companies are PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. These companies evaluate your coin under strict, controlled conditions and provide a professional grade. More importantly, they authenticate your coin, giving it legal credibility in the collector world. Submitting a coin usually costs between $30 and $100 depending on the tier and value, but it's often well worth it for coins that could be worth thousands or more. A coin graded and slabbed by PCGS or NGC is infinitely more valuable to buyers than one that is raw and unverified. In some cases, if your coin is extremely rare or has a suspiciously high value, you may want to consult with a professional numismatist before sending it off. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers have in-house experts who can assess your coin and give a preliminary opinion. Many local coin shops also offer appraisals, though their expertise can vary widely. It's always good to get multiple opinions before making decisions on high-value items. If you believe your coin is one of the legendary variants, contact a specialist quietly and protect your privacy. Stories of theft and forgery are not uncommon in the rare coin world, and once news spreads of a potential multimillion-dollar find, attention will follow. For those looking to go even further, DNA-level metal analysis is available. This involves submitting your coin to a metallurgical lab for composition analysis to determine its exact metal makeup. This is essential if you believe your 1987 cent was struck on an off-metal planchet, like bronze, steel, or aluminum, materials not intended for that year. These kinds of laboratory certifications can dramatically increase a coin's credibility and valuation when combined with PCGS or NGC grading. Meanwhile, the community you join along the way is one of the most helpful and passionate in all of collectibles. Online forums like CoinTalk, Reddit or /coins, and Facebook groups dedicated to Lincoln cent errors and varieties are filled with helpful collectors ready to offer advice, second opinions, and encouragement. YouTube creators like you are now an essential part of that community, sharing discoveries, showing live searches, and educating others about what's possible with the right knowledge and persistence. The moment you post a video about your 1987 cent find, thousands of people could rally around to support, examine, and verify it. If you do discover a coin of extreme rarity and value, you may be faced with choices you never expected, offers from private collectors, emails from dealers, and perhaps even invitations to major auction houses. You might decide to sell, hold, donate, or insure the coin depending on your personal goals. But whatever choice you make, remember that finding such a coin means you joined a very small club of people who pulled a miracle from a sea of pocket change. It's more than money, it's legacy. All of this ties back to the enduring power of the 1987 1-cent coin. It is proof that even in an age of digital everything, analog value still exists, hidden, physical, tangible. It proves that real stories can be forged from real metal, struck by real dies, and left waiting to be rediscovered. It proves that not every treasure has to come from a pirate's chest or a millionaire's vault. Sometimes, it comes from your couch cushions, your grandfather's drawer, your local bank's coin roll, or the random penny you almost didn't look at twice. The legend of the 1987 penny will continue to grow, not just because of its supposed $876 million price tag, but because of what it symbolizes, that the ordinary can become extraordinary, that history can be held in your hand, and that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest weight. And so we arrive at the heart of it all, not just the story of a coin, but the story of belief. A belief that somewhere, hidden in the background noise of modern life, lies something extraordinary. The 1987 1-cent coin, once passed over, discarded, spent 1,000 times without notice, has risen from obscurity to become a symbol of discovery, value, and human fascination. It is no longer just a small disc of copper-plated zinc. It is an artifact of myth and mystery, of numbers and legends, of facts and feelings. It reminds us that our world is still filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered. The penny itself hasn't changed. It's still 19 millimeters across. It still weighs just 2.5 grams. It still carries Lincoln's profile, silently watching from every change jar, every desk drawer, every roll tucked in an envelope from decades ago. What has changed is how we see it. What has changed is our willingness to imagine more, to look closer, to search deeper. That's the power of numismatics. That's the power of story. And that is the power of possibility. In a world that moves at the speed of algorithms and disappears into screens, there's something profoundly human about reaching into your pocket, pulling out a coin, and wondering, could this be the one? Could this small, silent object be the link between history and fortune, between obscurity and legacy? Could this be the $876 million penny? Could it be the coin that changes everything? Because that's what keeps this story alive. Not just the rarity, or the errors, or the mysterious buyers, or the shadowy auctions. It's the feeling. The thrill. The idea that in a world where most things are known, predicted, explained, or digitized, there are still real-life treasures hiding in plain sight. It's the idea that the most valuable thing in your life might already be in your possession. You just haven't looked close enough yet. Imagine it. A dusty coin box from your childhood. A forgotten roll behind a bookshelf. A customer at your cash register who pays with change. A donation box. A vending machine return slot. A coin stuck under your car seat. These are the places where magic begins. And it begins not with a find, but with a glance. A second look. A moment of curiosity. That's all it takes to open the door to everything. For some, the 1987 penny will forever be a common coin. Billions were minted. Billions still circulate. But for a few, for the determined, the dreamers, the detail hunters, it will become a mission. A story they chase with microscopes, and coin tubes and flashlights and hope. And for one person, perhaps someone watching right now, it will become a life-altering reality. Because the story of the $876 million penny isn't just a legend. It's a possibility. A real one. There may come a day when the world finally meets the ultimate 1987 cent. The one with the error so perfect, the grade so pristine, the origin so mysterious, that it shocks the numismatic world and forces every collector, investor, and expert to reevaluate what a penny can be. That day is not fantasy. It's out there waiting. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next year. Maybe today. Until then, the hunt continues. The coins wait patiently in jars, drawers, and vaults across the world. The stories are still being written, quietly, privately, coin by coin, hand by hand. And when the next discovery is made, it won't just be about the coin. It will be about the journey. The years of searching. The hours spent bent over magnifiers. The thrill of finding something others missed. The realization that sometimes, against all odds, You held history in your hand and didn't even know it.so. Take one last look. Reach for that old change pile. Open that forgotten box. Examine every 1987 penny you find. Because the next chapter in this story, the next jaw-dropping sale, the next record-breaking find, the next whispered legend, could start with you. It could begin with 1 cent, 1 year, 1 chance, 1 moment. The 1987 1-cent coin isn't just worth $876 million because of a number on a check or a transaction in a sealed room. It's worth $876 million because it's changed the way we see something simple, something ignored. It's taught us that the smallest, most overlooked things can sometimes hold the greatest value. And maybe, just maybe, it's reminded us that treasure doesn't always lie at the bottom of the ocean or on top of a mountain, but sometimes in your hand. And that's why the story will never end.